We are into our 5th and final session of the Gender Project. Now, it seems that until now, conversations about gender have been loud and angry, or they've been completely silent as we stick to those that we feel we are the most like. But it feels to me that the time for neutrality is over. Gender and the gender conversations is going to affect us in our everyday life at some point. And so it's really important that we figure out how we're going to thrive in this space. How are you as a teenager going to find your voice and order your thoughts around gender? How are you going to position yourself to make good future-focused decisions around your gender? I think it's really important as we land this to land it back into love. But before we do that, I just want to clarify the definition of love for you. So often we think of love as a feeling of deep affection. And often it is, but not always. I feel like a better definition of love is this: a conscious decision to put the needs of another before your own, to choose what is best for someone over what you feel like doing. With that in mind, I'd love to wrap up our time together by encouraging you to love these 5 things. Number 1, love your body. Whether you have an integrated or a dualistic worldview of yourself, it is safe to say that our bodies are very, very much part of who we are. They should be well cared for and respected. It is a scientific fact that what happens to our bodies impacts our hearts and our emotions. Human beings are delightful, sometimes painfully complex creatures made of many interconnected parts, and what happens to one impacts the others. We live in this media-saturated world of filtered perfection. The bodies we see on Instagram and TikTok can make us feel hugely inadequate. It is so important to love our bodies in all their imperfect perfection. They are powerful and they are important, even when we don't like them very much. You will not always like your body, but you should always love your body. Love is an action and a choice, and it is something that we need to be doing every single day as we take care of the body that has been given to us. Number 2, love diversity. I honestly believe that one of the reasons teenagers so wholeheartedly and quickly embrace gender transformation is that they are desperate to escape the conforming stereotype boxes that society tries to shove them into. When someone doesn't align to our society's idea of gender, we assume that they must be gay or transgender. But it's important for us to realize that our interests, that our hobbies, and that our expressions of ourselves don't necessarily define our gender. It is the role of every generation to push back against these norms. Not so long ago, it was bad for a woman to show her ankles or to wear a pair of jeans. And here I am in my stonewashed jeans. So every generation, it's your job to push back against cultural norms. But I honestly believe this should be done carefully and respectfully. A little while ago, I met an absolutely beautiful 18-year-old Zulu girl. She came to chat to me after one of my talks, and she started to explain to me that she had decided to disassociate from her gender. She basically said that she did not want to be the kind of woman that her mother had been. Her mom was a slave to her father. She cooked and cleaned all day. Her dad spent all the money on drinking, was unfaithful to her, and her mother literally was a prisoner in this marriage. And so as I listened to her, I started to realize that she wasn't necessarily disassociating from her gender. She was disassociating from a gender stereotype and a gender role that she did not want. And so I think this is really important for us to understand, this difference between gender roles and gender identity. Number 3, love yourself. As human beings, we all have this right to self-determination, the right to our worldviews, to our religions, to our convictions, and to our life choices. That means that you do too. Do you have an integrated view of your gender? Do you believe that your birth sex determines your gender and determines your sexual relationships? You're entitled to that view. It does not make you a homophobe, unless of course you hate gay people. It does not make you a bigot, unless of course you are antagonistic and disrespectful to people who disagree with you. On the other hand, do you have a dualistic view of humanity? Do you believe that gender is determined by how you feel internally? You have the right to that view. You have the right to explore what it means for your life, to be heard, to ask questions, and to have a loving community who values you. At the same time, you have the right to be safe from harassment and prejudice and hatred. You have the right to love. You are not a cis hater unless you are hateful and disrespectful and disparaging towards people who hold a heteronormative worldview. Whichever way we view the world, or perhaps somewhere in the middle of it all, can we find a place where we see each other's hearts, where we respect one another's worldviews, to see each other as imperfect and deeply important as human beings, and not to be compromising in our worldviews, but to be compassionate to all people. At home, I have this book of images from Humans of New York, and the caption underneath reads as follows: I wish I'd partied a little less. People always say be true to yourself, but that's misleading because there are two selves. There's your short-term self and your long-term self. And if you're only true to your short-term self, your long-term self slowly decays. And of course, it's not about just partying a little less. But I think what this girl has captured so well is this idea that we have a short-term self and we have a long-term self. And these two people are deeply and profoundly connected. We live in a culture that says, just do it, regret nothing, you only live once. But I want to encourage you in this time, you have a future self. Everything you do in the coming years is going to impact that person. They're either going to thank you for it, or they're going to say, what the heck did you do that for? Now I have to pick up the pieces. So my advice, ask yourself, who am I becoming by what I'm doing? And how will this decision impact my future self? If we are going to find our way to thriving in this gender conversation, we are going to have to reclaim something that Danny Silk calls the culture of honor, where we see people as human beings, not a cause or a lost cause, not an ally or an enemy, gay or straight, cis or fluid, right or wrong, but we see people as people. People with rights, just like me. People with dreams, just like me. People deserving not just of my tolerance, but of my love. Navigating the gender landscape is not going to get easier. It's going to become more in our face. It's going to become more complex. But as Douglas Murray says, when we stop talking, we stop thinking. So let's not rant. Let's not hide behind the screen of our phone. Let's not divide ourselves into camps of right and wrong. Let's keep thinking, let's keep talking. Let's keep standing in our convictions, and let's above all continue honoring each person we engage with the utmost honor and love.